Hello everyone. Today we are exploring a topic that touches nearly every household in tropical and subtropical regions: arthropod-borne diseases and how public health systems fight back through integrated vector management, moving from entomological surveillance all the way to a coordinated public health strategy. Let us start with the basics. What exactly is a vector? A vector is an arthropod or other invertebrate which transmits infection by inoculation into or through the skin or mucous membrane or by depositing infective materials. Closely linked to this is the concept of extrinsic incubation period, which is the time required for the disease agent to develop inside the arthropod host. For example, malaria requires about 10 to 14 days inside the mosquito, and this period is temperature dependent. We also need to understand host types. A definitive host is where the sexual cycle of the disease agent occurs, such as the mosquito for malaria. An intermediate host is where the asexual cycle occurs, such as the mosquito for filaria or cyclops for guinea worm. And then there is infestation, which refers to the lodgement, development, and reproduction of arthropods on the body surface or clothing, as seen in louse infestation. Now let us look at the public health arthropod matrix, which lists the major arthropods and the diseases they transmit. Under class Insecta, mosquitoes transmit malaria, filaria, viral encephalitis, dengue, West Nile, and yellow fever through biological inoculative or propagative mechanisms. Houseflies transmit typhoid, cholera, dysentery, gastroenteritis, trachoma, and polio mechanically through contamination. Sandflies transmit Kala-azar, oriental sore, and sandfly fever through a cyclopropagative mechanism. Tsetse fly transmits sleeping sickness through a cyclodevelopmental mechanism. Louse transmits epidemic typhus, relapsing fever, and trench fever through a propagative mechanism. Rat flea transmits bubonic plague and endemic typhus, also propagatively. Black fly transmits Onchocerciasis cyclodevelopmentally. Redoweed bug transmits Chagas disease cyclopropagatively. And cockroaches mechanically contaminate food with enteric pathogens. Moving to class Arachnida and Crustacea, hard ticks transmit tick typhus, viral encephalitis, Chiasanur forest disease, and tick paralysis through transovarial and transstadial transmission. Soft ticks transmit Q fever and relapsing fever similarly. Trombiculid mites transmit scrub typhus transstadially. Itch mites cause scabies through direct contact and infestation. And Cyclops, a crustacean, serves as an intermediate host for guinea worm and fish tapeworm. Among all these arthropods, mosquitoes deserve special attention because of the sheer number of diseases they carry. There are 4 medically important mosquito genera. Anopheles transmits malaria through key vectors like Anopheles stephensi, Anopheles culicifacies, and Anopheles fluviatilis. These are night biters, peaking between 7 pm and 4 am, showing a mix of animal preferring and human preferring behavior, and they feed indoors. Culex transmits Bancroftian filariasis, Japanese encephalitis, and West Nile through vectors like Culex quinquefasciatus and the Culex vishnui subgroup. These are also night biters, primarily animal preferring but feeding on humans when in high density, and they have a long flight range of 4 to 5 kilometers. Aedes transmits dengue, chikungunya, and yellow fever through Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. These are vicious day biters, highly human preferring, with a short flight range and an extrinsic incubation period of 8 to 10 days for dengue. Mansonia transmits Malayan or Brugian filariasis through vectors like Mansonia annulifera and Mansonia uniformis. These are active throughout the night, showing a mix of indoor resting and outdoor resting behavior, often in cattle sheds. Let us now understand the dynamics of vector transmission cycles. The first is direct contact, where arthropods are transferred directly through close contact between two people, as seen in scabies and pediculosis. The second is mechanical transmission, where the disease agent is carried mechanically on the vector's body or appendages without multiplication, moving from a pathogen source through the fly to food and then to the human host, as seen with typhoid and cholera through houseflies. The third is biological transmission, which itself has three types. Propagative transmission involves multiplication only, with no cyclical change, as seen with plague bacilli in rat fleas. Cyclopropagative transmission involves both cyclical change and multiplication, as seen with the malaria parasite in Anopheles mosquitoes. And cyclodevelopmental transmission involves cyclical change only, with no multiplication, as seen with the filarial parasite in Culex or guinea worm in Cyclops. Given the complexity of these transmission cycles, one guiding principle stands out. Since no single method of control is likely to provide a solution in all situations, the present trend is to adopt an integrated approach. Integrated vector management is defined as a rational decision making process to optimize the use of resources for vector control, combining two or more methods to obtain maximum results, minimum effort, and prevent ecological damage or insecticide resistance. Let us walk through the 6 methods that make up this integrated approach. The first method is environmental control, which is considered the best and most permanent approach to vector control through environmental manipulation. This includes source reduction, which means eliminating domestic and peri-domestic breeding sites like tins, pots, and tires, along with minor engineering such as filling, leveling, and drainage. It includes water and waste management, securing piped water, ensuring proper sewage and refuse disposal, and managing intermittent irrigation. It includes physical proofing, mosquito proofing overhead tanks, underground reservoirs, and domestic wells, and it includes de-weeding, removing aquatic host plants like Pistia and Salvinia, specifically for controlling Mansonia mosquitoes. The second method is chemical control, which is divided into anti-larval and anti-adult measures. Anti-larval measures include larvicides such as Temephos, used as 1% sand granules in drinking water containers, insect growth regulators such as diflubenzuron and pyriproxyfen, which disrupt molting, and traditional agents like Paris green and mineral oils. Anti-adult measures include indoor residual spraying using DDT, malathion, or synthetic pyrethroids applied to indoor resting surfaces for endophilic vectors, and space spraying using pyrethrum extracts, ultra-low volume cold fogs, and thermal fogs, primarily during acute epidemics. The third method is biological control, aimed at minimizing environmental pollution by utilizing natural predators and pathogens. This includes larvivorous fish, scaling up the use of gambusia and guppy fish in permanent and semi-permanent water bodies, often through non-governmental organizations or public-private partnerships. It includes biolarvicides such as Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis, which is safe for drinking water and destroys the larval midgut without harming non-target species, along with Bacillus sphaericus. And it includes fungal agents such as pathogenic fungi like Coelomyces, which are currently under study. The fourth method is genetic control, aimed at highly targeted control that is not subject to vector resistance and currently in advanced research or small field trial phases. This includes the sterile male technique, releasing sterilized males to mate with wild females, resulting in unviable eggs. It includes cytoplasmic incompatibility, utilizing Wolbachia bacteria to prevent successful reproduction. And it includes chromosomal translocations, introducing genetic alterations that cause lethal mutations or sterility in subsequent generations. The fifth method is personal protection and health education. This includes physical barriers such as long lasting insecticidal nets with a specification of 150 holes per square inch and wire screening, proofing buildings with 16 mesh copper or bronze gauze. It includes chemical repellents such as DEET, natural repellents, and pyrethrum coils. And it includes community mobilization through behavior change communication and information, education and communication activities, along with conducting monthly village health and sanitation committee meetings. The sixth method covers surveillance, legislation, and international health regulations. Entomological surveillance involves routine tracking of larval indices such as container index, house index, and Britto index, adult sampling through light and bait traps, and advanced PCR xenomonitoring to detect pathogens within vectors. Legislative measures involve enacting and enforcing local municipal bylaws for landowners to eliminate domestic breeding sites and grade borrow pits, and international health regulations under the 2005 framework mandate strict vector surveillance and maintaining a 500-meter vector-free perimeter around international ports and airports to prevent global vector transport. All of this comes together in a coordinated strategy guided by risk thresholds, often visualized as a response pyramid based on the Aedes aegypti index or API. At the base level, with an API of 1 to 2, the focus is on permanence through source reduction, environmental management, and biological control. At the mid level, with an API of 2 to 5, defensive barriers are added through widespread, long-lasting insecticidal nets and highly selective targeted indoor residual spraying. And at the peak level, with an API greater than 5, a total response is required involving full-scale quality indoor residual spraying with rotation of insecticides, active intensive surveillance, and total integrated vector management mobilization. To summarize, integrated vector management brings together 6 complementary methods: environmental control, chemical control, biological control, genetic control, personal protection and health education, and surveillance with legislation and international health regulations. Understanding the biology of vectors, their transmission cycles, and the specific mosquito genera responsible for major diseases allows public health professionals to select the right combination of tools for the right situation, ensuring maximum impact with minimum ecological harm. Hope you have understood about the topic Arthropod-Borne diseases and integrated vector management, from entomological surveillance to coordinated public health strategy. If you found this video useful, please like and share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.